think I just... So many people, they just don't care. They're all out for themselves. They don't pay any attention to the people and the things around them. You know, people just don't care. They lie to each other, they cheat each other, and in the best of circumstances, they sit down and they pretend to listen to one another. It's appalling. It really is. But you know, somehow, we care around here. We really do, and I think that's really great. And sure, we may not hold up to the standards of Sector 12, but we listen. With joy and enthusiasm around here, we really care about what people have to say, and I think that is really neat. You know, I am so glad you all are here with me today. You are the best, just the best. And I suppose that's the result of how picky the committee has gotten these days. The best of the best are getting in, only the cream of the crop. You have to set aside a lot of time and energy for the cause. You have to be very passionate about the cause. And I don't know. It's just that I know there are some really good people out there who aren't perfect. And what they are is they're human. They are very, very human. And is that a sin? I don't think so. I don't think you should have to be perfect. I think that the committee should look for that little bit of good inside all of us. You know, it's really a shame what they're doing. In my personal opinion, okay now, okay. Here we go again, right? Oh no. Okay. Well, you know, let's move on. Just, in my personal opinion, I think that if the committee were to let in more people, then those people would become better for the sake of their privilege. You know, there are ways of making people's good sides flourish. But the thing is, sometimes I don't think people want to get in anymore. Too many deep things to dwell on, right? We don't have to dwell on things here. We came here so we could be free of care. Well, you know, here is a man who was good enough to get in. Let's show him some respect, and I know you all will, because you have all been up here for Norman McClellan. How are you?
I'm fine, I guess. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, but there's no need to know my name. I've had my time answering the questions, and now I've graduated to asking the questions. I've gone from interviewee to interviewer. Maybe someday you'll be up here asking the questions, but for now, this is all about you, baby. This is your time to shine. This is your 15 minutes of stardom. Well, not literally. We only have 10 minutes.
I'm very grateful that I'm privileged to be on this show, but what did I do to get here, and why do I deserve to be here?
This is an interview show. I am going to interview you, and all these people have come to see you. Yes, sirree, they are all here for you.
That's all very nice, and I thank you all for being here, but what did I do to get on the show?
You were a good person, Norman. That's all it takes to be on this show. You don't have to be rich or famous, just good. And we really want to hear everybody's story, because whether you know it or not, you know, we are all connected. And it is important that we find out what those connections are, however minute they may be.
You know, it's also blurry. I don't even recall how I got here.
A few people can. Many people try to make up scientific reasons for how they got here, but by using scientific terms, they're really just beating around the bush and avoiding the obvious answer.
Why would anyone need a scientific reason? I just want to know how I got to this studio.
Listen, we have now wasted 2 of the 10 minutes. We only have 8 minutes left to perform this interview. I would strongly suggest we move on to more important things. You will recall that all these people are here to see you. All right, let's get started, shall we? Now, Norman, What kind of person are you? I mean, what are your hobbies, your interests?
Well, I always enjoyed poetry. I loved it. Even as a young boy, I simply loved poetry. I remember collecting these big books of poetry. My favorite was this compilation of poems by Abner. There was one I particularly liked. It was called, I believe it was called Adventures of Isabel. It's about this young girl who encounters all these horrible creatures and evil people, but she wasn't scared of them. She wasn't scared of anything. And she always found some cunning way to get out of trouble. I wanted to be just like her, free of care. Isabel didn't worry. Isabel didn't scream or scurry. You know, it was as if her courage allowed her to do anything. She could defy the laws of physics. She simply didn't understand limitations.
What a wonderful way to live.
Yes. Yes.
So, why didn't you become a poet?
Why didn't I become a poet?
Yes.
Well, that's a very interesting question. I guess things just sort of happened. It's so hard to put into words.
Many things are.
Things just came up, you know. I always wanted to be a poet, but then it just never really happened. I mean, well, first, I wanted to earn some money to live off of while I wrote poetry. So I decided I had to work a really good job just for a few years, like being a doctor or a lawyer or something. Next thing you know, I'm in law school for 3 years.
Law school? Sounds pretty unpoetic.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, while I was in law school, I fell in love with one of my classmates.
So this is the part where you felt you had to give up your dreams of ever becoming a poet?
Yes, pretty much. I married Susan, that's her name, Susan, right after we graduated. There was a real clash between what each of us wanted in life. It was a problem. She didn't understand my dreams and my hopes. She didn't understand what I wanted to do with my life. She wanted money, a big house, and nice clothes, nice things, and I couldn't say no to her. I could hardly discuss anything with her. She was a tough, a strong woman, and there I was, a weak young man who didn't have the power to say no. She made me take a job at a law firm in Chicago. I worked like a madman. I was practically never home, and when I was home, all I could ever do was sleep. I remember every evening at 7:30, a menu would pop up on my computer screen at work. This meant I was supposed to eat at the office, and then at 10:30, my office would arrange for a taxi to come pick me up at 11, and by the time I got home, she would be fast asleep. Now, I would end the day feeling tired and alone. A year and a half after I took the job, we had a son. After we had Johnny, my son, after we had Johnny, I was scared I wouldn't be there for him. I was scared my job would take me away from him, so I spent every second I wasn't at the office with him. Now, I wanted to be a poet. Susan, she used to say she would not let a smart man such as myself waste my time being a poet. That infuriated me. An idiot cannot write good poetry. You know, she would say she would not let us starve for the sake of my silly fantasies. Though sometimes I thought she was right. Now, I'm a man with a family. I have a responsibility to support them. I always knew I could never support them the way I felt I needed to on the income of a poet.